Okay. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we saw ahimsa at three levels, and thought, speech, and action. And we also saw towards human beings, towards animals, and also towards the plant kingdom. Okay, so it's just a general sensitivity. I don't want to romanticize because the Vedic times is not now, so people don't behave exactly in the same way, right? But the Vedic times, it's interesting, how not only you preserve things, but you have reverential attitude towards that. So when people come to Rishikesh for a retreat, where I do a retreat, and many people from North India, they are surprised that it's not only ashram people, but just the general people, their relationship with Ganga. They come and they do namaskara to Ganga, right? They float water and they are so prayerful. They look at the sun, they offer their prayers. So it's not just about, our life is threatened and let's protect it. It's actually recognizing the wonder that is the universe and seeing how the generosity within the universe, how much you are given to sustain your life. Everything is given and there is no charge. Somebody during COVID was saying, my God, to rent a ventilator was so expensive. And that's where I recognize the generosity of the universe to breathe air. Is there any charge? It just keeps providing and providing and providing. And you dump things and you do all that you want to, it never complains. It just does what it has to do. This is the universe. And if you recognize this is the inherent nature of the universe, you will not complain and you will not say that the universe is source of suffering. Ignorance is source of suffering, universe is not. So this is something that there is bountifulness, there is generosity, there is giving, there is elegance, there is all of this. If you are alive, if your mind is preoccupied with your created world, you will only see all the crazy and distorted things. But if you just little bit overcome that and you see the real universe, there is so much beauty and there is just so much kindness and intelligence, right, within this whole creation. Intricacies. So that is a whole attitude, ahimsa. Ahimsa is a very, very profound attitude, right? And when we, sannyasas, I think some of you may have been actually sannyasis, I don't know. But the traditional sannyasa, there is one vow of ahimsa, and that all sannyasis take. And they declare, they go to the Ganga, and the sannyasis declare to the universe that I am not a source of threat to anybody now. I have only one goal in life, and that goal is to know the truth. And my whole life is dedicated only to the truth. And I have no other agenda, so I'm not a threat to anybody. I'm not going to harm anybody, either through my thoughts, my speech, or my words, or my actions. This is profound. It's part of the ritual. So this is something a human being can say that. So this is why ahimsa is the primary commitment of a sannyasi in our tradition. So this is where it is. Now the next value is kshantihi, which means accommodation. But before that, Prem had told me, and I forgot, that he wanted a little bit more discussion on dependency and emotional dependency. So let's hear, if you're ready, what exactly.
What exactly? Well, emotional independency has always been there quite strongly in my life. And I haven't solved it yet within myself. It keeps on coming up, and I didn't find, in spite of doing all the work on it, the sessions, groups, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if Vedanta has anything to offer on that level.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I say, realizing yourself, then these things will fall away, etc. But I don't know if you have any.
Yeah. So first, let's talk about what are the expressions of emotional dependency. What does it mean first, right? Before we even try to address it, we need to understand what does emotional dependency mean. So and how many different ways it can show up. So we stay with the topic because we can't have solutions without understanding what we are talking about. So what do you think? First of all, if you were to think, suppose I ask you what is emotional dependency and how are different ways in which it manifests? Can you give me some examples?
Yeah, well, the best known one is in relationships, all the stuff happening there, and it's possibly even staying in the relationship, and it's better to leave or wanting to, but not daring because of the dependency, fear of being thrown back to yourself all alone, and not being connected with someone else and sharing. And
that's true. That is so true. That dependency, emotional dependency, means that you see yourself complete only in presence of somebody else. That is called dependency, emotional dependency. That you feel yourself fulfilled, and you tell yourself that this person is indispensable for my well-being, or my well-being depends upon this person being there, right? And this person can change over a period of time, right? So you can have 5 different people upon whom you had emotional dependency. But it's a mind, it's message to yourself. And what is that? I'm not okay on my own. That I need somebody to complete me. And even if, now what is interesting, what Prem is saying is, even if that person is not completing me, and I can see it because there are conflicts and there are issues and whatever, right? And I still, and some issues, it's not like the first issue arises and you have to leave. Of course not, right? But then there are certain basic fundamental issues which are unacceptable. They go against dharma sometimes, right? Or they go against your fundamental sense of well-being, and you still hold on to them. So relationships themselves become an addiction. So we keep, an addiction in a way that, and that is also, there is a pattern that sets in sometimes, that you attract, suppose your own belief is that I lack love in my life and I want somebody to love me, and only in the presence of somebody I will feel happy or fulfilled. You tend to, if you're not confident about yourself, you will attract the person. Do you understand?
Yes.
You'll attract the person who will who is strong and shows that I'm very good. And you will not attract healthy human being. And as you don't attract healthy human being, things will start going wrong in that relationship. Because after a point you realize that, hey, this is not really working and the person is not mature. But that very emotional dependency, what it has done is to attract you first to the wrong person, because you operate from lack of confidence, lack of a certain place of your own where you feel that you're worth it. And the second thing is that once, even if you recognize that this person is not good for you, you can't leave the person. And then what keeps happening is you keep getting hurt deeply, violated, unhappy, but you can't take yourself out of that situation. I'm not saying he, but I'm just talking about in general, right? This is what emotional dependency does to us. And therefore, and generally, what is the behavior? Suppose you really make a lot of effort. At some point, it becomes totally unsustainable, and you say, no, I can't, now this is too much. It has reached a certain limit, I can't take it anymore. And you take that courage and you take that step towards changing. But if you're alone, what will happen is you will not be able to be alone. You'll immediately start seeking somebody else. Immediately. So that means without healing yourself, without processing what happened in the previous relationship, without creating a certain firm ground on which you can stand, and understanding your own limitations and your needs and how to heal you, they will immediately cling on to somebody else, and then they will repeat the cycle. So this is something which is quite common in relationships, right? So now, how do you break this chain of emotional dependency?
You have to see that it's happening to you.
Absolutely. So you need to see that it is happening to you, and not only just say, oh, I'm so unlucky, or please don't, now that you're spiritual, please don't say Ishvara wanted it. Please, this Ishvara didn't want anything. Ishvara is just, is a laws, infallible laws. You perform an action and then it gives the appropriate result. Otherwise, we all just, we are in our own world, and we, use all these terminologies that we have learnt so loosely and so wrongly. So therefore, it is, please understand, it's your orientation problem. And that needs to be solved. And who will do it? Only you can do it. Nobody else can do it. Even the teacher can only throw light on it, and you have to help yourself. So therefore, the first thing is to acknowledge and to say that I have this need and that it doesn't seem to go. But that has many different effects. It's not just, I suffer and I attract wrong partners. But then again, my suffering is, then somehow fear sets in. Then all kinds of, then you tell yourself, oh, relationships are always so complicated and so difficult. So everything is all about something else. You never see, or Ishvara is making you go through this. You never take responsibility for your life. And you never actually, this amazing brain that is given to you, you can turn things around. And that is the power, that is the generosity of Ishvara. There is nothing that you are stuck with in life which you can't get rid of. That is the range of possibilities that is given to human mind. But you have to work for it, and you have to be sincere, and you have to stay with it, and not just kind of, superficially do things. So this is why, if my dependency is a problem, somewhere in my own relationship with myself, I see and I reinforce that I'm incomplete. Please don't think complete human being need not have relationship. A complete human being can have relationship. There is not a problem. But an incomplete human being seeking relationship to complete oneself is a problem. So therefore, how do I first tell myself that I'm adequate, I'm fine as I am? And for that, you really genuinely have to change your own opinion about yourself and see yourself as somebody who is fine. If you're fine, all the additions are further glories. But if you are not fine, then everything becomes, clean. Now, in order to see yourself as fine, what you need to see is exactly all your talents, all your resources, all your capabilities, everything that is given to you. But in spite of that, suppose, right, if you're not able to free yourself from a certain pattern that you are stuck with, the Vedic culture talks about one thing, which is an extremely important thing which we overlook these days, and that is prayers.
What is?
Prayers.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very important. And what Swamiji used to say is, prayer is a highest expression of human free will. And I used to, free will. So I used to always wonder, what does it mean that prayer is the highest expression of human free will? Free will means faculty of choice. So that means all of us at one point in our life, we all have felt helpless. We want to change, we make an effort, we try. As he said, I helped myself to so many different things. It's not like I sat there, pitying myself. No, you tried to do something, but you are still stuck with it. That is the state of what we call helplessness. That now you don't know what else you can do. And when you are helpless and you ask for help, that is called intelligent living. You don't deny that help. You don't deny to yourself that you need help. And when you ask for help, who will you ask for help? Everybody else is equally helpless. Somebody, you go and talk to somebody and he or she may say, yeah, that's true, I empathize with you, but I don't quite know how I can't just go and fix your mind. I can perhaps give you some tools, but that is not a guarantee. So that means then you have to go to the final laws which are infallible, which are what we call the laws of causes and effects. They work in a way which is unfathomable. Why? Because they incorporate actions and consequences of 50 years, 100 years. These causes and effect laws of that is the universe, whether it is a physical law of gravity or it is a chemical law which makes 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom into water. Whether it is a biological law, that when you plant a chiku seed, a chiku tree will come. How old are these laws? 50 years, 100 years? Forever. They came with creation. So what it means is, as everything is governed by this cause and effect relationship, can your life be outside this cause and effect relationship, the laws? It can't be. If you think it is outside, please understand, you will not know what to do next minute. Why? Because if there is no connection between what you do and what you get, then there is no way to organize your life. All of us, in fact, we think Hindu philosophy talks about karma, causes and effects. In fact, all of us intuitively know it. Why? Because suppose when you were young and you wanted to become a sociologist, you knew exactly what to do. That if I do this study, this is what I will become. This is called an intuitive understanding of cause and effect. If I want to be wealthy, what do? I have several options. Either I can start my own business, or I can get a job, or I can become an expert in one given thing, right? Or whatever. You have all these choices. Your human mind makes decisions based on understanding of cause and effect. If I do this, I will get that. Nobody taught. It's not Vedas who taught you. We only get lost because everything doesn't go our way. So you thought that if I do this, this will happen, and one day it did not happen. Then you are not sure why it didn't happen. Then what is the easiest way? Your mind told you, world is chaotic. That's why it didn't happen. And you bought the story. World is not chaotic. It has causes and effect relationships. But these causes and effect relationships don't work within 20 years or 30 years of your life. Like every other law, these causes and effects also start with the creation. And they have, right? And not only there is a cause and effect within your, not one life, but lifetimes. But it's a network of cause and effect. So what does it mean? Others do things. We are all interconnected and interrelated. So what happens to you is not only governed by your causes, it's also governed by what somebody else does to you. So that means there is this vast, complex network, and causes within causes, within causes, within causes, way beyond your lifetime. So now, when this particular effect comes, and this is not what you expected, you're lost. So the only thing that you can do is to go to that Ishvara, which is running the cause and effect relationship from the time of the beginning of the creation, when the manifestation of creation, and the whole network. Because you may not understand why this happens to you. Because your perspective is only your 20, 30, 40 years. But there is a larger order which runs over millennia, and which governs things that we grapple with. So, what do? We ask for help. We acknowledge that we are helpless and we ask for help. If you can do that, you are the most mature human being. Because you'd make an effort. It's not like you don't make an effort and just pray and it'll all come to you. No. You make your own effort, but you also recognize the enormity of laws within which your life is kind of connected. And your inability to influence everything and to get everything your way. But at those times, not to lose trust in life. Not to lose the understanding of the fairness and the infallibility of life, of the order. Makes you trust and go on without bitterness, without, feeling like a victim. So this is why you can pray and you can ask for help. Now, you need to understand how prayer works. So, people who are so-called rational minded, they'll always create, they'll ask you a question, common question. Oh, suppose two kids, right, they took the exam and both of them prayed before taking the exam. One failed and other came first. Why did one person's prayer worked and the other prayer did not work? So is God partial? No. Then how come both prayed and why is a different outcome? Because a prayer is not the only variable which influences the outcome. There are multiple variables which go into the causes which create an outcome. So what does it mean? Suppose you want a promotion, coming back to the same scenario. You want a promotion, it's not just a function of whether you prayed or not. It's a function of how skilled you are, how hardworking you are, how emotionally intelligent you are, you're able to get along with your colleagues or not. It also is a function of, how whether your boss who is making the decision can trust you or not. So there are multiple variables. So what happens is, there are already multiple variables. Some of them are in your hand and you have to do what you have to do. Things don't just magically fall. But even if you do all of that, it is not certain whether you will get that promotion or not. So through a prayer and asking for help, what you are doing is adding some more variables. Why? Because prayer is an act of free will. You have chosen to pray. It's an action that you have performed. It's the cause that you have created. Can you have no effect for that cause that you have created? It's not possible. This is the law. So what you have done is added some variables in your favor in order to change the whole dynamic of the outcome. So you have done what you have to do, and you have taken care of multiple variables that are in your hand. But then there are also things which are not in your hand that you can't do anything about, for which what you have done is prayed and added additional variables in your favor. And as you do that, you change the outcome. You change the outcome. So now, but it may not always go in your, just because you have prayed, as I told you, it may not always work out that things will happen your way. But the prayer has always, has increased the possibility of your getting it. So, there is a lovely, simple story to demonstrate that, right? So there were two friends who were walking, two young boys, and one was saying that, I like to pray and I'm a prayerful person. And the other person said, oh, prayer is for a weak human being. who doesn't have confidence in oneself and leaves everything to God, and it just doesn't want to take responsibility for one's life, the prayer is just useless. It's for weak people. Now both of them were going, and there came a temple. So the person who wanted to pray, he went in, he says, I'll go, and the other person waited outside. And he went into the temple and he prayed, and as he was coming out, he tripped and he injured his leg. And the person who was waiting outside saw a silver coin and he picked up. So when the person who came back from the temple and this guy who did not go, he started laughing at him and he said, what happened to you? He says, I went to the temple and I tripped and I injured myself. And he said, see, this is what prayers did to you. And I did not go and I got a silver coin. So what prayer and all? It's rubbish. And that boy who went to the temple, he didn't know how to answer this boy. Then the other person who is the so-called wise person, this is a simple story, it's not some intellectual story, but it shows what, demonstrates something. And then, so there was this wise person who comes and he's now, both are confused, like how can this happen, And the wise person gives the answer. He says, no, prayer works. What? How does prayer work? How can the person who prayed get injured? And the person who not pray get a silver coin? Then he said that this person who went to pray, right, he was going to have a huge accident, but as a result of the prayer, it got mitigated and he got away with a small fall. The person who did not pray, right, was supposed to have a lot of things, but because of one's own arrogance and dismissive nature and all, he created this papa which it reduced his gain. So what you see, that the person who prayed did not get, you may not always get, but what it will do is add variables in your favor. So if you were anyway going to get it, what will it do? It will enhance the benefit. If you were not going to get it, it perhaps can make it possible for you to get it. And if you were going to have some major disaster, it will mitigate that disaster. It can't change the past variables. It can't change. But what it can do is add variables in your favor, which changes the outcome. So, this whole thing about, people ask, when you study Vedanta, to who are we praying? There is only one. If we are talking about only one, where is the prayer? It's like asking, who am I talking to? There is only one. When Vedanta says there is only one, like I talked about in yesterday's class, doesn't mean that, there is a difference between the Ishvara and you. Like there is a difference between wave and an ocean. You can't deny that. The identity, that equation is not that wave is ocean. It requires solving. When you solve what is wave, essentially it is water. And when you solve the mighty ocean, which is huge, the answer is water. The equation is not that wave is ocean. The equation is, when I look into the identity of wave, all I find is water. When I look into the identity of the second wave, all I find is water. I look into the identity of past wave, I find only water. If I look into the identity of the future wave which has not even come, it is only going to be water. And the mighty ocean within which the waves come, and waves go, which survives way beyond any wave. But if I look into its truth, there is only water. So after solving the equation at the level of water, there is non-difference. At the level of wave and ocean, is there a non-difference? There is a difference. Just like there is a difference between my body and your body. One doesn't mean that your body doesn't exist and my body doesn't exist. Otherwise, who will I be talking to? So this oneness is a problem. People are just flying with some oneness. God knows which oneness.
This one.
This oneness. There are many, many forms. And they are undeniably there. It's not an illusion. And then there is an intelligence which makes every form what it is, which is much bigger than any form, from which all the forms have manifested, by which all the forms are sustained, unto which all the forms go back. But when you look into the truth of one form and the intelligence which makes all the forms what they are, there is only one. So what it means is, while you're studying Vedanta, forget getting something or dependency. Even the fact, when will you get the knowledge? Do you know? Do you control? You don't control. And you have to try. It's not like you don't control, so therefore you have to try, but you have to be prayerful. Because it is within the laws of Ishvara which is going to be decided when the ignorance is lifted. It's not entirely up to you.
And what is a good way to pray? You pray to Ishvara or your personal deity? Or?
Yeah, so there are many different ways, and I will talk about it. Today, do you want to hear that? Or
Yeah.
Yeah?
Certainly.
You want to hear?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So, you can pray in so many different ways. So first of all, let me take some traditional answer. Then I will open it up and give a little modern answer, right? So according to the Vedic vision, you have three forms of prayer. One is, let me write it.
Mm-hmm.
Manasa, Vachika, and Kaika. Manasa is mental prayer. Vachika is speech, using speech. So the beautiful bhajans that Yashodhara sings in the morning, it requires speech, right? Singing, Vachika, speech. Or you can do Vedic chanting or whatever, right? And Kaika is hands. So you go to temples and you do some rituals, or you do the offering, or you go to church and they give you, some, they give you something, right? Huh?
Hosting.
Okay, yeah. So it requires some physical. So these are the three forms of prayers. Mental prayer can have, right, either, so you can basically ask for anything. And we think that, as you evolve, then you should not ask for anything. That is not true. As long as you are on this earth, you always have some needs. And you are feeling helpless. So, if suppose, right? It doesn't make you less evolved. It doesn't make you less wise if you ask for help. Suppose you have an injury which is giving pain, and you ask, you do what you have to do, right? To take whatever treatment that you have to take to do that, right? To heal yourself. But suppose you pray for, there is a beautiful Vedic prayer. And the Vedic prayer is Apyayantu mamangani vak pranash chakshu shrotram atho balamindriyani cha sarvani. What does it mean? Before you even start studying Upanishad, this is a Samaveda prayer. And what it says is, now look at this. You're sitting to study Upanishad and you're saying, Apyayantu mamangani. Give strength and health to my limbs. What is the connection between self-knowledge and your limbs? If you have pains and aches,
Your mind is disturbed.
your mind
You're not
is
listening.
constantly disturbed. Your mind, you are sitting, when Brahman is being taught, your mind will go to, oh, my knee is aching. So even to be able to study Upanishad, I want healthy body. Not only I want healthy body, Vak, Pranash, Chakshu and Shotram. Let all my sense organs be also alert and in full capacity, working in full capacity. But why do I want my body and sense organs and I let my mind be alert and not fall asleep? The strength of knowledge is so much. If your mind is not prepared, you will fall asleep. It's powerful. So therefore, you are asking for an alert mind. You are asking for bright senses. You are asking for a healthy body. But why? Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam. Maham Brahmam Nirakuryam. Mama Brahma Nirakaram. I want all this strength, not just to go out and party. I want it so that I can continue with my studies without any obstacles. Prayer. We don't teach Vedanta without a prayer. Because it's not ordinary. It's not like I've just come and I'm sharing whatever. I take it seriously. And I don't just talk nonsense. I don't use foul language. There is no place for all of that if your pursuit is the truth. Neither in the classroom nor outside. Tapas. Ahimsa. So what it means is, this is a mental prayer. Let me be healthy physically. Let my mind be alert. Let me become eligible for this knowledge. Oh Ishvara, remove my ignorance. Asatoma satgamaya. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Prayers. These are all prayers.
What does it mean, asatoma?
Asatoma satgamaya. We chant, but we say asatoma in the midst of untruth. Take me to the truth. Let my mind navigate and take me to the truth. How will I get to the truth? Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. All the confusion and all the ignorance and all the wrong understanding and everything needs to clear up so that the truth can shine. So what tamasoma, I mean in the dark, from the darkness, take me to the light of knowledge, clarity. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. If I get clarity about what is, what will happen from mortality, I cross mortality and I know myself to be immortal. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Prayer. Let my mind reach this truth. Let my mind not resist this reality. Let my mind not create some parallel reality, not understanding what Upanishads are saying, and create my own thought world out of it, which has got nothing to do with what Vedanta is teaching. Let me align. I will try, but I need help. I need your grace, O Lord. So that means these are all mental prayers. You can do that. You can also chant the prayers. So we have all these amazing Vedic prayers that we chant. And this morning Yashodhara was saying, and that's true, they come with swaras. They are in harmony with sound harmony. And you can't just do whatever you want. So you are alert and you respect that and you do that. So this is what we call speech. And then you have all these Vedic prayers which are sophisticated, but what is really beautiful is you have bhajans. Bhajans are not Vedic. You can chant the way you want. You can chant it in the Western way, Eastern way, whatever. It doesn't matter. It has no rules. Because it's coming from the heart.
Absolutely.
And that's beautiful.
Yes.
That is also beautiful. So what it means is, it is you, the individual, connecting to Ishvara through these beautiful bhajans. When I hear these bhajans, it moves me. I don't say, oh, I'm in Gnana Marga. This is all fake. Oh, now I'm in Gnana Marga. What Gnana Marga? It's just you need to relate to Ishvara. Because all that is here is Ishvara. And if you miss that entity, you're lost. So therefore, what happens is, that's why I started very consciously. Vedanta is not only about knowing myself. It is knowing the identity between me and cause of the universe. This is traditional Vedanta. And if my mind is only thinking about myself, and it misses the bigger picture of Ishvara, it is going to be completely lost in its partial knowledge. So therefore, we need to understand. It requires a mature mind to understand Vedanta. And you need to expand beyond you. It's about understanding the whole universe and the world and how it works. And seeing yourself as this part of this grand design. First, before you finally get the knowledge. So what it means, bhajans are all beautiful expressions. Beautiful expressions of connecting. Because in your daily life you have no way, we are not used to connecting to the only entity which is there. If you count the ocean, where is wave separate from the ocean? A wave without understanding the ocean will always feel one and isolated. Then magically it wants to become truth of everything. So, first step is the wave has to give up its smallness by understanding that I'm pervaded by the ocean, and every wave is pervaded by the ocean. And we are all connected, and we are all interrelated. And what I do, I'm part of the whole system. I can't just be a grabber. I can't just be afraid of the world. I have to relax and trust and do the best that I can. That's the first thing that the wave has to do. Give up its smallness, its fears, in the understanding of its own existence as part of this vast ocean. And the second step is the wave has to then understand that my reality and the mighty ocean's reality is one water. Vedanta is complete. Because the wave has to first what? Find its identity within the ocean, expand. So this is why this helplessness that we all have, right? So what is the second form of prayer? The vachika, expressions, right? Speech, the bhajans, the Vedic prayers, or any other thing that you all do, right? I don't know what you do, but whatever, speech, using speech. And the third is kaika. The physical expression is also very important. In India, right? Forget in India. You love somebody and it's all mental. I love somebody. And you never physically express it. The other person is going to feel unloved. Because you have all the love, but it's all mental, never expressed. Similarly, you see the wonder of this universe, which is all Ishvara. Every human being needs a physical expression of that. You go and put flower also belongs to Ishvara, river is also Ishvara, everything, you are also, your body is created by Ishvara, but you pluck a flower and you offer it at showing your reverence. You don't take life for granted. You don't take your own existence for granted. You're grateful. You're grateful for this opportunity. In this countless flow of time, you have been given this opportunity, a human body and a human mind which can figure out the truth. You have to be grateful for that. Time has come. So what? Even any physical expression of giving flowers, doing this namaskara, these are all expressions of gratitude. And we have to cultivate that. That is bhakti. That is relating prayers. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Hari. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but
Yes.
May I have one more question before it gets lost?
yeah, then we will do it in the next class. Yeah, please ask the question so that
Okay,
we all
okay.
know, so that I don't forget.
Is it more helpful to have the prayers in Sanskrit, or is it
Anyway, okay, I will answer that question. It's a good question. I will answer.
What was the question?
The question is a good question. Is it more helpful to do prayers in Sanskrit or just
Oh,
any prayer?
Yeah, yeah.